Welcome to Cartoon Scary! Boo!
At 21 years old, working the graveyard shift at a rural gas station is a job defined by boredom. It's a repetitive cycle of stocking snacks and waiting out the silence. At night, the architecture itself becomes a liability. A brightly lit convenience store functions as a glass display case, leaving the person inside completely visible to anything lurking in the surrounding woods. It was 9:30 p.m. when the phone rang, cutting through the hum of the refrigerators and the quiet of the empty hot. The voice on the other end was low and forced, like a character in a horror movie. It asked a single direct question: "Are you all alone in the store?" The immediate response was sarcasm. The protagonist hung up and texted a group chat, trying to find out which friend was playing a prank. It's a common psychological defense, forcefully labeling a threat as a joke to maintain a sense of normalcy. When faced with an isolated environment and an irrational interaction, the brain often reflexively manufactures a safe, logical explanation to avoid processing a genuine danger. The second call came at 10:10 p.m. This time, the caller didn't just ask a question. They responded to the sarcasm with a calm, unsettling warning: "I shouldn't be rude to people who know where I am." The prank theory collapsed when the friends in the group chat proved they were elsewhere. The caller began describing how quiet the store had become, making it clear they were watching the interior in real time. By 11 p.m., the call stopped, replaced by sounds from the building's exterior: taps on the glass, a light scraping against the sidewall, and footsteps crunching on the loose gravel out back. This top-down schematic shows why the situation became critical. The security camera's cones of vision leave significant blind spots near the woods and rear dumpster. The protagonist spent an hour checking monitors, but within these unmonitored zones, the source of the footsteps remained invisible. Security cameras provide a sense of oversight, but they can also trap a person in a state of passive observation. You end up watching a screen for a threat that is already maneuvering around your defenses. At 11:40 p.m., a customer finally walked in. He looked like an ordinary man in his late 20s, but any sense of relief vanished the moment he began moving through the aisles. He didn't shop. He wandered aimlessly for nearly 10 minutes, pausing frequently to stare over the tops of the shelves at the employee with a completely blank expression. When he finally approached the counter to pay for a bag of chips, he remained silent. He maintained an unblinking, predatory stare that lasted long after the transaction was finished. At the exit, he stopped and turned his head back. With his chin lowered, he slowly stretched his face into a wide, unnatural smile. He stepped outside, but he didn't head for a car. Instead, he began walking around the side of the building, keeping his eyes fixed on the employee through the glass the entire time. On the security monitor, he was seen rounding the corner toward the woods and disappearing into the exact blind spot that had been troubled by noises all night. He never came back out. Intimidation of this kind works by forcing the victim to internalize the threat. That smile was a clear indicator that the unsettling behavior wasn't accidental. It was a message that the encounter was far from over. When midnight hit, the protagonist locked the doors early and abandoned the cleaning routine. It was time to make a run for the car parked at the side of the building. Stepping out of the bright store meant losing the only barrier left. The parking lot was silent, dark, and completely exposed. During the sprint to the car, the silence broke. The sound of rapid, heavy footsteps, not running, but a fast, slapping speed walk, came charging from the shadows at the front of the building. The employee threw themselves into the driver's seat, locked the doors, and violently threw the car into reverse. As the headlights swept across the lot, they saw the man standing exactly where they had been seconds before. When the distance between a person and a threat disappears, rationalizing the situation is no longer an option. The only thing left is the physical necessity of getting away. The following morning, the protagonist explained the events to their boss. They expected the surveillance footage to provide the validation that the night's terror had earned. The boss watched the grainy video and dismissed the entire incident. He called the man a regular customer and suggested that the phone calls had simply caused a bout of paranoia. This highlights a fundamental truth about survival. You cannot wait for others to validate your instincts. If you wait until the danger is undeniable to everyone else, you've already waited too long.